Welcome to Goose TV. I'm your host, Charlie Stivers, and we help you prepare for the digital economy. And today's special guest is going to be really exciting. We are talking about the voice of the future and how AI's impact on audio is going to change how we uh, consume content and save time and just have that convenience factor in our life. Um, our guest, his name is Nik Cimino, and he has quite the background with software development as founder and CEO, also a CTO position with a blockchain company. That's actually how we met in the Denver area in our Web3 community. So I'm going to bring on Nik Cimino. Welcome to Goose TV. You're on mute.
There we go. Hey, Charlie. Thanks
Awesome.
for having me.
Yeah, no problem. Good old live streaming TV. But yeah, just roll with it, and we're gonna have some fun here. So really impressed with the work that you've done in the past and gotten to know you over the last couple of months. Um, so let's jump into it. Maybe share a little bit of your background. We can wrap that into as the discussion goes, but where we really connected was my idea of being a media company and how we want to deliver crypto news. I've been very resistant of because there's so many news companies in crypto, so we're always looking at distinction, hence the print magazine. And then now what we're kind of working on, which we'll reveal in a little bit, but yeah, maybe go into a little bit of your background, AI tech, and then how it's kind of converging into audio.
Sure. Yeah. So I started out as a electrical engineer out of school, and then I ended up going to a silicon company that made computer chips. They're called FPGAs. They're reprogrammable. Kind of like you could put a processor in it, but you can also put hardware accelerators, hashing algorithms, GPU. It's just a piece of hardware that you can reprogram and change. And I switched into software development there, software engineering, and we were writing the software to program those computer chips for quite a while. I was there for about 15 years, a little bit longer than that. And now, after doing that for a while, I had an opportunity to go work at a blockchain company as a CTO. And they were building a smart wallet. It's a wallet that lets you just manage your own keys, but it does it in some really smart ways. So I've been doing that for about the last 3 years and a little bit longer than that now. And recently, I had an opportunity to start getting involved in some AI stuff, and it just really intrigued me. So I started doing that and got my own company started building AI solutions and integrating AI into tools such as Slack and chat bots. And now we have some integration with Telegram as far as this project goes. And so that's a bit about my background. And then, I think I'll pass it back to you. I could jump into some of the audio stuff, but I think I'll let you drive that.
Yeah, I think for some people who have a little bit of a tech, um, I guess, familiarity is we've all heard of this software as a service or SaaS, but you've really embraced AI as a service. Why don't you talk a little bit about how, yeah, us as users have these AI tools, but like how you're like developing the tools yourself as these needs or solutions or problems that need solutions come up.
Yeah, absolutely. It's pretty interesting. I'll give a real quick example to kind of kick it off. While I'm writing code, I'm using AI, right? And not just that, but the AI is helping me write code. It's also when I want to they have these things called change lists that list all the new changes that go into software. I'm just using AI while I produce code to summarize those changes. And so I'm just automating all of my own tasks while I'm working, right? So not only is it helping me become faster, but every task I have, I'm integrating AI and becoming faster at each of those tasks and spending less and less time doing the things I don't want to do or things that I just don't, that can be automated. If it can be automated, let's automate it. And so that's kind of, I've been doing that now that I know how to integrate this stuff, what got me into that was we needed some AI solutions. I could see a platform system where we can provide AI to give just summaries, help people with condensing information very quickly. And we started to integrate this into the AEC industry. That's architecture, engineering, and construction. To provide summaries of code books, to integrate some of the data from Autodesk tooling into like we could bring that into Slack, for example, and provide summaries, access into the data and the designs. So there was a lot of potential there. What we found though is a lot of people are expecting AI to have this almost where we'll be at generic kind of AI or general AI, and we're just not there yet. Where this thing could do all the math and figure out logical problems and give you concrete, 100% proven answers or validated answers, I should say. And we're just not at that place right now. These LLMs give you that false kind of belief that we're at that level because they are so impressive. But what we're really finding is that they're just predicting the next word, and because of that you can get different answers. They don't have a lot of logic behind that. So I learned quickly that using it for engineering tools is not ideal. Now I have learned a lot about how we can kind of fake that behavior, and so we probably want to talk about some of that. But that wasn't the best win. So we've kind of transitioned now into doing summaries and this new financial tool that I've been working on.
Cool. And I love the name of your business or company called Perptuator. Was there some inspiration behind that? And then maybe jump into a little bit of like how you want to democratize AI technology for users.
Yeah, absolutely. So, the Perpetuator, when I started that platform for data ingestion and then answering questions using AI, a lot of the vision there was to provide a tool that could just consume everything from your notes, your email, all of your data, and really understand who you are, how you respond, and all the data that you have. If this thing has access to your knowledge bases, your notes, your email, it can effectively respond. If you're getting emails that are similar to emails you've responded to before, you don't need to do that, right? So we could build the tool that would just know your knowledge base and respond as you. And effectively, perpetuator means to perpetuate forever. And the idea is that you would just live on forever. So perpetuator.com had that as its impetus. And the idea was that you could be on vacation and it would just respond for you like an autoresponder. Or when you're gone, you're dead and gone, your kids can go to it and ask questions, and they would be able to get the same answers that you would have given. You can imagine where we could put your voice to that, and it is like they're still talking to you, which is pretty freaky, but pretty cool. So there was that part of it. And then, yeah, on the democratizing AI thing, I really love the way this technology works. It's a little expensive, but it's going to get cheaper and cheaper as time goes on. And I think facilitating people's use of this in their everyday lives and giving it to the masses is really important. It's hard to do that right now without some kind of funding. Been trying to kind of bootstrap things myself and just get things off the ground without going down the investor road. But to facilitate some of that, I think you'd almost need to have some seed funding because of the cost, or we have to control the ramp up. But there's a lot of potential to put this into everyone's hands. And the best part is these AI tools and the hardware is getting commoditized, and it's going to happen very fast. I'm already seeing it, and the prices are coming down. So the amount of information that we can ingest and process for people is really going to be extensive in the near future. The problem is the storage and things like that for people's data or helping them hook it in. That's where all this stuff kind of falls apart right now. And even with big companies, the biggest challenge is how do we get the data in a shape that the AI can ingest or put it into a format. even, there are clouds. Every enterprise has a different cloud setup and different solutions, and so you have to almost build tooling to go in and ingest all that information. And this is where we're seeing some tools like Palantir has that are really starting to solve that for sure.
Yeah, and then all right, so let's jump into how you're kind of wrapping this all together and delivering it, all this data via audio. Can you maybe share your vision on how AI and audio will converge in the future?
Yeah, absolutely. No, I think that's a wonderful question. And the reason why I say that's a wonderful question is we're actually at a pivotal moment, I think, in history where things are going to change. When the computer first came out, the input was instruments. Like they had to send signals into these computational systems. And then we had keyboards, and then we had a mouse, and you had a display, and the displays got much more advanced. They didn't have color. Now we have color. Now we have video. All of these things keep advancing, input and output of the computer. Some of the challenge with that is that it's rather slow to type. We can type pretty fast, but you can almost always talk faster than you can type. And you can also get out information much faster in that way if it's condensed. With our eyes, we get to scan through the computer and jump around. And I don't know if the future will be a completely audible future, but it definitely seems like we're heading in the direction of talk to your computer, tell it what you want done, and it figures out all the parts. And furthermore, it's becoming abstracted. In computer programming, we used to have to program in machine code, and then we went to assembly language, and then we went to C and C++ and Java, and now we have hundreds of languages. And the reason why we keep seeing that evolution is things are getting abstracted further and further away. So in one line of code now, you can talk to a server, you can create audio files, you can create movies, whatever you want, manipulate large video files in one line of code or on one command line. And this is an abstraction of code. This is the abstraction of ability to a higher and higher level. And I just look at voice as another abstraction to that, where you will just talk to this computer and you'll give it high level commands. I want to go on vacation. Here's where I want to go. These are the dates. And eventually these AI agents that are coming online right now as we speak, they're going to start scheduling these things for you. They'll put together your flight and your transportation and any of the events that are going on at the time you're there. So this abstraction just lets you do more and more with less input and also just audio input. And so that's I think where the power is and what we're doing here with the voice. You can take voice and turn it into text, and then you can let the LLM manipulate that and go off and do whatever the back end parts of your system are. And then once it's got its results, or it needs a confirmation or maybe even more information, it can prompt you and come back with a voice and ask you those questions. And with your idea here for the news, I thought this was a really tight fit with some of those things that I was already trying to do with financial instruments, where we can now take all of this information and condense it and then provide it back to the user as audio. And I think the great part about that is I can be walking my dogs, I can be driving to work or wherever, and I can still consume this information. So it really helps me. I think it just lends itself to easier consumption. And the fact that it's condensed information is also quite powerful.
Yeah. So how do you see AI changing, I guess, the landscape of audio content creation?
Yeah. I think we're going to see a lot more content coming online, right? And that is the interesting part of these LLMs is they're generating content, right? And that used to be a very manual process, or you could script parts of it, but if you wanted good content, you used to have your hands in there, and that's not as true anymore. We can take tremendous amounts of information, we can condense it, and then we can generate huge amounts of audio content, and we can, so I think that there's going to be a lot more of this stuff hitting the market as far as both, just text and audio content.
Mm-hmm. And I meant to ask this after your last thread there. By chance, do you know the shorthand, the keystroke for recording audio on your computer? I meant to look it up before this show to give our viewers. This happened. Just curious if you happen to know.
I don't know. Now I'm on a Mac. They have this voice recording software, but I recently switched. I used to be Windows, and then for development work, I love using Linux. And then I'm not sure what it is on a Mac though. So
yeah, I'll see if I can find it when you're answering the next question without losing any attention to you. And then how do you think audio technology will play going forward in the digital economy?
Yeah. I think there's a huge opportunity here for and when you say digital economy, are you talking like crypto and things like that?
Yeah, I mean, we're just becoming more and more electronic and digital with all of our devices, and I guess I'll preface that with I like to listen to Gary Vaynerchuk or Gary V once in a while, and I remember him during COVID talking about how voice search was going to be very powerful. And that's kind of where I'm kind of positioning us for that as well. You can speak to your Google Home or Google Nest and then Alexa, and it'll give you different feeds or information or reminders. So that's, I think, a couple different applications for voice. Like anything else that maybe comes to mind that, putting your visionary hat on?
Yeah, definitely. We can almost watch this trend happen. Like you're saying, Gary V. I listened to one of his talks, and he was saying that if you want to advertise, some of the best areas right now are these new audio platforms that are on. They're not really platforms; they're audio solutions that are being delivered on existing platforms. So Twitter Spaces, I think is what it's called, or they have an audio thing you can just listen to, and then there's one on Facebook, one of the Facebook apps now. And there's just not a lot of people there yet. So it's a great opportunity, one, for us, and then, in general, for, your advertising dollars go much further there because you don't have a lot of competition. And to your point, I think that's going to change. The digital landscape is changing to where audio is going to become a very, notable place to consume content. It will be interesting because video is also going to be able to be generated just as easily as the audio now. And you can literally take a audio transcript, send it into some of these AI systems now and say, generate a video, and it'll create the characters, it'll create, the audio, everything, put it together, and you have a full product. Who knows if it'll be production ready, but that used to take, a long time to put something like that together. And now it's going much faster. So I think we're going to see that all change a lot. There'll be a lot more audio available for us, I think.
Yeah. And then can you maybe expand on like Perptuator and like this AI as a service and, some of the solutions that, maybe someone gave you an idea and you're like, I can build that. Maybe to inspire other creators, so to speak. And, if they have an idea, maybe they do need to find a developer like yourself or, in their community that can build it for them.
Absolutely. Yeah. And always open to talk to people if they have questions or they want to connect and talk about solutions and these things. But yeah, Perptuator, that platform I was talking about, what I really was hoping to do is be able to provide some general solutions that were AI capable. And this is, there are things like summarize my documents, just take these PDFs, summarize them, give me a report, turn this into audio. I want this delivered to my email. Just like the tools I was talking about earlier, where it summarizes the change list notes for me and produces a change log that I can deliver to people. I don't have to go type all that. But when you really think about it on the back end part of this, we can consume content from any website. We can take audio from any video files or audio that you're producing, even from your meetings, right? Taking audio content from meetings, turning it into transcribing it, turning it into text, making it searchable, then giving summaries and AI. And there are solutions out there like Firefly and a couple other ones you can invite to your meeting and they'll give you summaries. I've seen some of those work really good. Sometimes they lose the context of who's talking, so it kind of becomes hard when you're creating action items, but they do summarize all the action items that come out of the meeting. So there's a lot of power in that and time savings. We're also seeing the use for, I think, one of the most powerful things that I was talking about earlier was there's certain ways you cannot just rely on the LLMs to give you answers that are concrete. But I've learned ways to get in there and access live data that you can bring into any of these AI systems. And that's, I think, where the real power is for the future. And what that means is, everyone wants to go train their own LLM on their data, and this thing just understands it. And you can ask these really complex, in-depth questions, and it will just answer. And to me, that's coming with general AI and AGI when we get there. And you can train your own LLMs, but you need a significant amount of information to really get it to grasp the concepts, to get it to grok the concepts, right? Grok AI and all that. The trick is to take your actual data and build a conduit into the AI where now it can get your data when it needs it. And that's the real thing, I think, right now that's tangible, that can provide some solutions with the AI that we have today. And that's where this financial tool kind of got kicked off. Is I knew I could have these conduits of data, big amounts of data coming in from all of these different feeds. News was one of them, but now that's become a prominent thing that we've implemented already. But we have actual data from stock prices to crypto prices. We have the Fed decisions. We have large macro events that we can pipe into this stuff. And while you can't really, everyone wants to build the algorithm that can just figure out, is this going to go up or down? If it was that easy, these companies that are investing billions of dollars would have already done that. But, instead of just trying to build the algorithm that can tell you what's going to happen next, I think just condensing this information and learning about how to get all the data into the system and just provide general answers. So one of the things, like an example of what the system is really capable of, I have to build a little bit more on the front end for this, but you go in and you can ask for discounted cash flow analysis. And on the back end, it performs real discounted cash flow analysis using financial data, concrete numbers, and then it can wrap that up and give it to the user in a AI formatted answer. So you can get pretty easy to understand the answers out of a bunch of data. In addition to that, and then this would be valuable for evaluating a company, seeing if they're worth what they say they are, what the current price is. And not just that, but then if we had a database of these things and you build a conduit into the database of all of these valuations, now you can ask it simple questions like, what is the most undervalued stock today? And give it a requirement of, I want it to have a market cap of at least $2 billion, and I want it to be growing revenue at 30% a year, right? And that's a pretty good investment if it's, highly undervalued and you have all these other requirements getting hit. So that's kind of the vision of this thing, is to really condense a lot of financial information. And then now we have news too, which I think opens up a whole a whole bunch of different ways to, why did this event happen? And it can go analyze the news at that time to maybe give you some answers on why the stock might have moved during that time.
Yeah, I love that. There's so much possibility with financial information and, having that delivered, on demand, basically. is pretty nice, and not having to read 20 different emails or check 5 different websites. So I love the solution that we're working on. So you mentioned crypto, but I want to tie AI into blockchain. So how do blockchain technologies like the ones that you've worked on and what we've been learning in the Denver Web3 community, how does blockchain enhance security in a lot of these AI driven models and systems?
Yeah, there's a huge potential here that's not even really, the surface is just being scratched right now. There's, we have with AI, one thing you really want is you need to know where the information came from. You want to know what did the AI actually say, and in a lot of these now, with these agents in particular, you have a lot of back and forth conversation. OpenAI just released this solution called O1, and it's in preview right now. Some people have access to it. It will be in general access soon, I believe. And what it does is it asks, before it even answers a question, what are the questions I should answer? And then it goes through step by step. So they call this deep thinking, and it goes through step by step and asks the LLM, well, how should I solve this? How should I solve this? And so it builds a step by step based approach to coming up with a very complex answer to a simple question that might require such a complex answer. It also, though, with the agents are able to take actions on your behalf. So like I was talking about earlier with the schedule my vacation, AI can do that. And today it can do that, right? It can go off and schedule all these things. We have to build these solutions. People are building these, but we're still at that very beginning phase where the Lego pieces are being built, if you will. And we have to build all those parts before these bigger solutions can be put together. But where blockchain really comes into this is now, let's say we want to prove at each of those stages when the AI agent took an action or when the information that came into it, all of these things can be validated, and we can take all that input, all of the inputs, massive amounts of data, produce a hash, which is very blockchain friendly, put that hash on the blockchain, and now you're locking in kind of like a proof of truth, right? We can prove that at this time, on this date, this is what this AI system produced, and this is the output. And you can verify that that output is true. And then as you have a chain, almost like a chain of custody from input prompt to output action, was everything done correctly? Was it all followed? If not, where was the mistake made? And in these bigger, more complex systems, you can really start to narrow down what has happened, and you can see who are the sources for maybe some kind of information that came out of the LLM. So there's some of those use cases. We just went to an event here in Denver where they're talking about these open solutions now, where you can just pull in AI and work on AI or get AI answers using these decentralized solutions through DAOs. And this opens up the door for people doing distributed AI solutions. You can get paid for your hardware, you can get paid for your GPUs, you can get paid for your models, you can get paid for prompts. So they have this big ecosystem that's coming online now where these decentralized solutions will allow a complete economy around AI systems. And it'll be interesting to see how that develops. I don't know if that's going to take over. Is it going to be too cumbersome, or is it going to be a very important building block? I think, a lot of people are feeling like blockchain has not really done what it had promised. And there's a really good quote. I can't recall who said it, but it goes something like, humans are really good at overestimating what technology does in the short term and then underestimating what it will do in the long term. And I think that's exactly where we're at. We just saw this with AI. We have seen this with blockchain, where everybody expected it to change the world, and it will. It absolutely will, but it's going to take time. We've probably got another 20 years. The systems that these things are replacing are big and massive, but AI is really making an impact quick. It's had a much faster on-ramp, I think, than blockchain technology has. But again, I think we're going to go through this phase, kind of a little bull cycle where everybody, hey, this thing's amazing, it's changing the world. And then we overestimate it in the short term. And what is this going to do for us in the long term? I think AI is just going to completely change everything. If you don't have to get on and schedule your ride, and you don't have to get on and schedule your hotel and all these things, you can just sit on the couch and talk to AI through audio, and it will just schedule a whole trip for you, or your ride share will show up. I need a ride to here, and it needs to be here by 7 p.m. And boom, it's just done, right? You don't have to think about it or do anything. It might ask you, are you sure? And, I've got a ride. It'll be there at 6:50. Do you want to confirm? That's the future of these interactions, I think.
Yeah, that's a really good vision, because right now we're dealing with that clunkiness, so to speak, of all these wallets and nothing working interoperable. So yeah, I do love that vision. All right, let's get into a little bit more of the audio stuff again. Well, and one of the I didn't have my teaser today because I was really looking forward to this, and I think we could take up the full hour. But one of the things is being curious in crypto and blockchain will pay dividends. And even like if you look at people like yourself, developers, there's a big buzzword, creators, who's creating content. But I think who's left out of that equation are the developers. You guys get rewarded, usually pretty well for creating code or creating solutions to many problems. But maybe talk about the opportunity for our audience for, maybe there's some younger generation people here who don't really know what they want to do yet with their lives. And, maybe talk about the opportunities of being a coder and if you are a creator.
Yeah, definitely. No, I would suggest that, I think everyone wants to go do these projects and hit it big and get rich, right? And it's a good dream, and I get it. I think it's if you tackle it from the approach of I just want to build multiple streams of income, you've got a huge opportunity in front of you. Some people get lucky and nail it, but the thing is right now in both of these spaces, AI is just taking off, and it's a rocket ship. No doubt. And crypto really is too, but it's kind of cooled down, right? We've had our big bull run and it cooled, and another big bull and it's cooled. But the technology keeps getting built. And a lot of times what I've noticed is that you'll see in these kind of bear markets, I think we're about to get out of this one, but we might have a little while. Who knows? It could happen tomorrow. But in these kind of bear times, we still see the building going on. Building doesn't stop. It gets a lot more traction when the bull cycle starts. So all of the tech that's being built right now is going to get heavily adopted during that bull cycle and getting in and just solving problems. Some of the best solutions I've seen are where we're just hitting a wall and we don't have a solution. So we have to build it. And when you build a solution to solve your own problem, generally you're solving a problem for a lot of people and you don't even realize it at the time. And, you're working on a project you think is going to hit gold, but, sometimes it's just the things, the building blocks that you're building along the way. And that's exactly where we are at with these technologies. Everyone wants the AI that just works and answers all these questions and goes and does all these magical things. But we're still at the infrastructure stage of all these things where we're still building Lego pieces. There's a lot of wonderful tools out there. Don't get me wrong. There is a tremendous amount of technology and infrastructure that has been built. But to see these high-level solutions that start to come online, I don't think we're there yet. I don't think the Googles and the Amazons that came up in the .com era are yet built that we're going to see from the AI and the blockchain, technology. That just hasn't even happened yet. We haven't even seen that bull run. So that's what I'm saying is there's tremendous opportunity. And, I'll even to answer this question, I'll jump back to something you said is the interoperability. Software has never been built to standards. I mean, I shouldn't say that, right? The internet is, and that's why it's so massive, right? Because everybody adopted the standard. But what standards allow you to do is things like what we get with the ERC-20. And that is that anybody in the world can deploy these smart contracts, this token, and give everyone in the world access to interoperate. You can go launch your own exchange and it'll just work, right? And that's because we built to a standard. And we don't see this with Google. We don't see this with Apple. I mean, Chromecast should have been standardized, right? And then everybody could just cast to any device in the world and it would just be magical. And I don't care if it was Google who owned the standard or Apple, or it should be an IEEE standard that they all just, get together and collaborate on. And because we haven't had that, everyone says, oh, my solution is going to be better. No, mine's going to be better. And now we have this very, broken apart system that half of the things work half of the time and the other half don't. And interoperability it's a cornerstone of blockchain. And I think that is the real important point. There are all these things we can do with AI, but it might just make sense to build AI into blockchain solutions, or at least build on these standards that we've had. So that way, as we build things, and I'm bringing all that up to kind of circle back to the question here. Developers who are just getting started today, you have these standards that tell you how to build the software. So any idea you have that you can build on top of that, you can just build that to that standard, and you've built a tool that interoperates with everybody in the world. And that's just absolutely cool. It all comes down to what is your ideas, and that you can build the solutions, messaging systems, things like that, right? You can fold the AI into it, but you can use blockchain to standardize. You can have a blockchain that's just specific to the communication of people. Start up a whole new blockchain that just keeps track of all the conversations in history. You don't have to put all the data on the blockchain, just the hashes, right? So you can validate that these are the conversations that happened. And if somebody has that history, you can say, yes, this is part of that conversation, fold people into this conversation. And we're seeing some social applications like that come online. I think it really helps kind of democratize your voice. It provides freedom of speech to the whole world. Anonymity is part of it too, but there's some challenges there. So sorry if I'm getting off on a question. I don't know if I actually answered.
No, that's good. That's good. All right, so let's get into how we kind of evolved our relationship. As we met, I was telling you about this, problem that I was dealing with, and a lot of us do, is, being in the media in crypto, I probably get like 20 emails a day of all the crypto headlines and things like that, but takes up a lot of time, and along with all the other distractions out there when you're reading an email or on your computer. So, and then the other part was, I love radio. I still listen to AM radio in the morning, and I love to get the news that way, just for the local community and whatever else they cover. So, my idea that I came to you with was like, hey, I would love a way for AI to aggregate or go out and find all the crypto headlines, pull them together, and then package that in a way where I can have that fed to me via audio. So this is where we kind of put our heads together and built a really cool solution out of this. So maybe you can, finish the rest of the story, and then we'll lead in and we'll do a reveal here.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this solution, is really the way I look at AI. Let's start with the models. How are they built? Right, they're built on a tremendous data set, a huge terabytes of data, just text, and then they learn to predict the next word. But what you get out of those terabytes of data is a couple gigabyte model. Now they're getting up into the terabytes, but 1 terabyte, let's say a couple hundred gigabyte, it's effectively compression. Is how you can look at these LLMs. They're taking tremendous amounts of information and compressing it. And then with the output product, it's also predictive, so it can predict the next word and put together things. And if you think about how we think, it's kind of how we think, right? We don't have the whole sentence put together in our head. We come up with the next word based off of our inputs and where we've left off and the things in our mind that we have yet to complete to finish that sentence or a thought. Now, we can use that behavior of just predicting the next word, but taking this this ability to compress information. And that's what I view this as, is it's taking just with the news feeds that are coming in are huge. We have a lot of information, and it just condenses everything down, and it does it again and again, and then it prioritizes information. So it's making decisions on what's important information. It is filtering out information that if we wanted to, I don't think we have any filters in there right now, but you could say, look, I just want information about maybe the war that's going on or this specific crypto, and we can really tune this to be news that is something that matters to that user. But again, it's highly compressed information, and then just turning it into audio is amazing, because I can be making breakfast for my kids while I'm listening to this thing, and it's so cool. When we had a little hiccup there and I wasn't able to listen to it and I was getting upset, I found I was like, I need my crypto news, because every day when I get it, I'm out searching like, oh, I forgot about that crypto, and this altcoin, I want to see what that's doing. So it prompts me to go and investigate some of these things. And it reminds me that, the Fed speaks today and there's going to be some impact because of that. And so it's just like, oh, I better put some protections on my other investments, and things like that. And it's just good to get all that information in 3 minutes, man. That's been pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely. So basically, we had to figure out how to go to market with this. And, most of our users are, crypto investors, but we also want to get the word out to the masses. And, and we do a lot with education, for people who are just getting started. It's like, hey, I would used to say, hey, just start searching it on your phone so it gets into your algorithm. But now we created an app. And so we launched on Telegram, because that's where, there's almost 1 billion users, and a lot of them are crypto investors. So that's the first step for us. And we wanted to prove it, and then now see what all the functionality is. And now we know we can put that information out to, Spotify and the other podcasting channels. But my big goal is like, hey, Alexa, play the crypto news of the day. And that'll be our feed. And then now, like, as we've been talking more and more, it's like, hey, we can just do one just for Bitcoiners. And because it's, very segregated. So, have you had any other kind of like visions of where this could go? And then I'm going to pop up our QR code here after this, and our link.
Yeah, definitely. I think, the podcasts are great. The ability to just ask Alexa for this information, Siri, Google for give me the news is really powerful. And I've, had a whole bunch of tools that, I should say data that I've had to process. And I really want the ability to put this data into this system and just say, here, condense this, summarize it, give me the audio back, right? And it's not that hard. You can actually use the system we've already built to do it. It's just not, set up for that, but it will work for that. And so that, as far as what else can we do, there are these abilities where, as I was pulling in the news feeds, we can get different sets of news feeds. And one of the news feeds is, really focused on what's happening in the macro environment, but the other ones are focused on technical analysis. So breaking this down to, what do you care about? Are you looking for macro events? Are you looking for altcoins? Are you just caring about Bitcoin information? Or do you, and just really tune this to specific users is a very easy possibility. It can be done with either picking the input news feeds, or we can change the prompt to filter, or I can build in filters. We have some filtering in the system already if we wanted to deploy it, but it's not really used yet. We just don't have a good use case for it. But like you just mentioned, maybe building that Bitcoin filter in there and just having one channel for Bitcoin only, that might be really valuable. I bet you there's a lot of people who'd want to listen to that.
Yeah, absolutely. And then maybe tell our audience what the copilot.perpetuator.com is.
Yeah, for sure. So as I mentioned, kind of hinted at earlier, was that this is a platform, right? And not just for us. This was a solution that I quickly tuned for us. What I mean is you can log in here. It has news feeds, RSS feeds. So it gives you a list of URLs and news. You can select the articles you care about. This is where the filter can be applied, is we could just pick the Bitcoin news, and then you can say summarize. And what it does is it goes through and produces summaries for all of that news. And then after you have all of that information, now you can build an article that is based off of that news you've selected. And once you build an article, it's just one, element of text that right now is tuned for audio because we want it to turn into audio. But you could have it produce a blog post or a feed that you want to put on your website. All of this stuff is built through APIs. So once the user authenticates, they can authenticate on a command line. And that's what this website is a front end. So it just lets you get on there, pick news, summarize, generate audio, pick where you want to publish, hit the publish button, and it goes live. We recently added this concept called teams, and teams are where you can put different people into different groups. And we're yet to add the feature, but need to add the feature so that you can pick what channels you're publishing to, so you can have multiple channels to publish to for those teams. But the nice thing is it gives you roles too. So if you want to put somebody in there who's an editor, they can come in and generate the content, but they can't actually publish. If you want to be, you can also have a publisher who can come in and click the publish button. So that way you can have kind of a final review process, set up some kind of SOP for your business if you want. And then you can also have owners. So you can have multiple owners that can come in there and manage everything and add users. The back end here has access to stock and financial data also, so that we're not making heavy use of right now, but the data is there. We will have to figure out if we're going to start doing something big with that, we need to talk about how much data we're going to consume, because that really changes the API cost to get this data from these financial services. But that's the power of this, is not only can we pipe in news, we can pipe in current financial stock prices, indicators, any kind of volumes. We can look at how many of these are, how many of the issues are increasing versus decreasing, and all of this data. It's really, the thing I've hooked into is called OpenBB, which is the same as the Bloomberg terminal, but it's open source. And so that's why we have access to pretty much any data that we want to put into this. And like you said, we're doing a lot right now with blockchain. Just to kind of tag along on that, is that, blockchains are open. You can see all the data that's happening. And if we wanted to get into it, if we knew a whale who has got like an 80% hit rate on, success of every time they buy a token, we can follow that person, put that into the news feed, or put that into the audio, or just have a completely separate solution here that this thing monitors blockchain, alerts you with an audio clip and says, hey, such and such happened today, and here's your condensed information at the end of the market or something.
That's so cool. So many possibilities.
Yeah.
All right. So this is a link to our Telegram channel. So we're calling this one, for our crypto headlines, chain reaction. And then we'll have capitalcopilot.io eventually. It is reserved. We'll just have to connect all the dots soon. But we'd love for you guys to subscribe. And then I'm going to pop up a QR code too. So you can scan that, and it's a little easier if you got your phone with you. The Telegram is pretty easy if people haven't been on there yet. It's a little safer than WhatsApp, in my opinion. But you can create your own groups. A lot of people do build communities around that. So we chose to launch here, and we'll scale from there. So we're excited about that. And I think you'll also like the voice. We searched and searched for something that was, similar to a radio DJ, feeding us the headlines of the day. And we found a British women's accent. So we can have fun with that. And, what's cool about audio is, we can mimic other like celebrities, or have like a guest DJ. I like your one idea of DJ Satoshi. So, we can just have a lot of fun with that, and you can too. So he built Perptuator, or copilot.perpetuator.com, like he was saying, in this team aspect, where if you like this service and you have a specific need, we can get that in audio format for you, and then you can publish that on your website or your own Telegram channel. Is that all pretty accurate?
Yep. Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Yeah, that's pretty exciting. What else? I mean, are there any like trends or like the innovations in all this that you're super excited about? Or
Yeah, I mean, I part of why I started building this is just it's a lot of information I have to process every day from the stocks and crypto and the news and everything, and it's just it takes too much time, and I just don't have that much time. Got kids, doing a bunch of projects and stuff, and trying to also consume the things I need. It that's what got me started on this. But after I've started, you start writing down the ideas, right? Like a to-do list, and the possibilities are just keep growing. And one thing that I think is really cool is I like this idea of I need to track some of my trades and keep track of things. And when you think about that from a more of a comprehensive perspective, if it's got all of my information, the trades I'm taking in there, and it's got the indicators and it's got the stock data, we can really look at this kind of holistic approach of here's where you're at, what's your beta, what's what's your asset allocation. And if we can do that across a whole bunch of platforms, and then I can track my wheel strategy or whatever I'm implementing at the time, those I think bringing all that together in a single platform is really exciting to me, that I can get all this condensed information. I can ask it exactly the questions I want, complex questions or things that take me 4 or 5 searches. I have to go put all this information together, and it will have access to that data and can just get it back to me, and then compare that or put that into my personal data is what's really super exciting to me. And those conduits I was talking about before, it's connecting the AI engine to your data and to the financial data and the blockchains. And this, I don't even think we're scratching the surface on what the possibilities are here. I think we could build some really cool stuff. I saw Robinhood had something about a big AI thing coming online, and it excites me. But I still, I wonder, if we can provide something here that's just on a different level. And so, yeah, it is very exciting to me. Really, it's just the whole solution, all the different parts of it kind of coming together on what it can do.
Yeah. So I guess lastly, are there any like challenges that you see with AI and where this is all going? I mean, the biggest one that comes to mind is the veracity or the truth behind the information that we're getting. So that, or anything else that you're seeing as far as challenges?
It's not too bad. Most of the tech, I'm able to put it together. I think it'd be really neat, on the website, we can integrate blockchain also as sign-on. I think that'd be pretty neat. But yeah, I think, like you said, the data accuracy is a very important thing. One thing that came to mind there is we can we're tracking the data that comes into the system, and we have all of the data from the news and everything that came in. So we can go back to the factual data and make sure that it's accurate. This has not been implemented yet, but it's a feature that if enough people ask for it, we could certainly build. And it would be like an AI role, almost like we have the AI agent here that can read the news and perhaps publish it. We could insert a separate agent that has to be consulted with, let's call it the editor, And so now you have like an editor in chief that everything has to go through. And before the AI can, the AI that's doing the reporter, let's call that one, the reporter agent has to produce it. It goes back to the editor in chief and they have to validate it. And then if that's validated against the original data, all the things are accurate, then it gives it the green light and the other one can publish, or you have a third AI agent that does the publishing. And we can make all these things talk to each other, and then it's really an automated system, so you can be hands off in a lot of ways. You can also make sure that the editor could fold in some really cool tech here where you could have it make sure that it's in a certain voice or a certain style, and if not, maybe suggest some rewording that the other AI agent can then implement. So there is just a whole bunch of things we can do here, and it's almost it's really difficult not to go off and try to do them all. Finding out what is the next biggest priority, and that's why I think it'd be really awesome if people came and talked to us and just let us know, can you do this? This is what we need. We're willing to pay for this solution. All right, let's talk. Let's build. Let's just solve problems. So.
Yeah, I think the only other challenge that I've noticed so far is the pronunciation. So learning how they enunciate is pretty interesting, in getting these AI voices. So it's been, I imagine, like as we're still editing, figuring out where the punctuation is to make it sound right. But beyond that, it's been impressive to see how well it sounds like a morning radio DJ.
Yeah, it really does. And I think there's some improvements we can do. We've made some improvements, and I was thinking about it last night actually, and I think there's a couple things we can still do to just keep leveling it up, and the AI voices are going to get better and their enunciation is going to get better over time. So this thing's just going to get more and more realistic, and it's going to be harder and harder to differentiate between a actual DJ and our Lady Ada. So.
Yes, love it. And soon to be DJ Satoshi.
Yeah, I love it, man. There you go. That could be the Bitcoin one or something.
Right. Awesome, man. Well, we're at time, so thank you. I've enjoyed working with you and getting to know you, and thanks for coming on and sharing the excitement of our launch with this, and we'll see where we can go. It's just the beginning.
Awesome. Yeah, no, I'm super excited, Charlie. I'm really glad we ran into each other, and I'm happy to have people to build with, man. It's fun building. I love doing the tech, but I want it to go somewhere. I want it to be meaningful, and I think we're all on that train now together. So hopefully we can have more impact than I was by myself, man. I'm really excited.
Absolutely. Awesome. Thanks, Nick. All right. Thank you all for watching today. If you have any questions, shoot Nick an email, and we'll catch you on the next episode of Goose TV, helping you prepare for the digital economy. Thanks for tuning in.
Well, thanks, everyone.